must do well in school, that we are connected digitally, that we are conservative in an Asian sense, yet we are increasingly being exposed to Western ideas. So I feel like parents in my generation and maybe older are kind of facing that tension, and we are also digital natives, right? We are so in tune with social media. How about our kids? They are being born into a world where social media is part of their lives. So there's just so much to unpack. And I think Parkson is really able to do that in his book. Secondly, Parkson's book is well researched. You have seen in his talk, he pulls out research after research. And the thing is, he offers tips that are tried and tested. Thirdly, he also shares from his own experiences as a father and a son, interestingly. And I really appreciate his honesty and his vulnerability. So essentially, these are the reasons that made us really excited to publish this book. And personally, it gave me, as a wife and a mother, lots of food for thought as well. And it's also been endorsed by big voices in the fathering movement here. Not just Jason Wong, which we used to pitch the publicity with, but many fathers in the fathering movement here in Singapore have good words to say about it. We actually prepared a video, but to save some time, we won't be playing it. I'm just going to dive right into some questions that I have for Parkson regarding the book. So Parkson, what was your conviction behind this book? Why did you decide to write a book for fathers in Singapore?
Well, it all began, a few years back when I, started to ask myself, have I been a good father? And, I have to admit that, I have 3 kids, but 2 older ones. With the 2 older ones, I felt that I didn't do a very good job for various reasons. And so I wanted to learn more. I wanted to find out how to be a better father, what a father ought to be like, and what are the things that he can do to really benefit the child, because I've heard of research about the father's involvement in the child's life has many, many benefits. So I began to research, I began to study, and I began to try them out. So we talk about, the book being in the Asian context is because I was in a sense the first guinea pig. And then as I shared that with other fathers, as in my role as the head of programs at the Center for Fathering, as I shared some of the things I've learned with other fathers, and I began to see that it actually does work with them as well, and I began to also understand the nuances, and sometimes the tips that I share with them needs to be tweaked a little to suit different situations and different contexts. Yeah. So yes, the things I'm sharing most of them has been tried and tested locally either in my own life or in the lives of many other fathers that I've had the privilege of helping, knowing, and journeying with.
Great. And you wrote this book for the modern day dad, right? And like you mentioned, you've counseled many in your job. What are their main struggles like? What are some things that always pop up in the problems that they present to you?
Well, there are many, many struggles. I think for the Singapore father, one of the biggest one is in terms of that work-life conflict. All right. Because the societal narrative has shifted, and we are moving away from the traditional model of fathering, which is, mainly the breadwinner, but not always there, not engaged with their kids. All right, we're moving away from that towards the more active and involved father. So a lot of Singaporean fathers want to be that. All right, for 2 reasons. One, maybe society expects them to be. The family, relatives expect them to be. And also thirdly, they expect it of themselves. They want it themselves. But they might not know how to, all right? And so it becomes a kind of, they're in a dilemma. I want to do this, but I do not know where to start. So that's one thing. And the other issue for fathers is, a lack of role models in their own lives. I'm one example, and many of the fathers that I speak to, not all, but many of them did not have a good role model in terms of their own fathers. And so for us, we are like, starting off not just from ground zero, but maybe even lower than ground zero. Right? So our learning curve is even much more steeper. Okay. But doesn't mean you can never make it. All right. Because this fathering is basically about skills and skills can be learned and practiced. And with practice, we actually become better at it. Okay. Yeah. So these are kind of a common struggles that many fathers have. Of course, we're not talking about the other, more exceptional cases, where fathers or parents have kids who are really, really challenging for different reasons, or even the children with special needs. That's a different kind of kettle of fish altogether.
And did you write this book exclusively for fathers? Can mothers buy it? Can grandparents read it?
Oh, yes. In fact, I would say that if fathers do not buy this book, I hope that the mothers would buy it for them. And the mothers can even read
Like
it
me.
and then, hint to their husbands and say, hey, this is something for you to think about. Maybe you can think about doing it this way and not that way and things like that. But to be serious, today, parenting is very different. In the past, parenting roles were divided, fathering and mothering. Okay, so fathering, you have very specific roles. Mainly the provider, and then maybe the disciplinarian, and maybe the one who passes down the culture and traditions of the family or their ethnic groups or whatever. All right, and the mother does the rest. Today, the two are merging together, they're coming together, and they are now you're able to collapse them and call them just one, parenting roles. Okay. And so because of that, whatever applies to the fathers applies to the mothers and vice versa. Okay. Because fathers and mothers basically do everything together, do the same thing. They talk to the child, they play with the child, they read to their child, they do many things that each other does, but they might do it differently. But more importantly is this: mothers and fathers are two halves of a team called the parenting team. And for this team to really function well, be effective, all right, and really bring about the best optimum outcomes for the child, is for this team to be trained in all the necessary skills in parenting, as well as in their relationship, which means they need to also be trained in marriage principles.
Which is something that you also focus on in the book.
Yeah, I do talk a lot about marriage because, this is something also very close to my heart.
Right. Thank you, Parkson. On that note, friends, if you would like to purchase the book, please refer to the link in the chat group that my colleague will be posting in a bit. And for today, we are giving you a 10% discount if you order it now. And if you would like your copy autographed by Parkson, he will be happy to meet up with you and have a chat with you and sign it for you. You just got to treat him to kopi. Parkson, do you have like a specific kopi flavor that you like? Kopi sutai, kopi
I always drink kopi o kosong.
Okay, all right. And that's not all, friends. We are giving away 2 copies this evening. So please stay till the end for a quiz. And if you answer correctly, you stand a chance to win a copy of the book. Now, I could go on about the book, but I know that many of us have questions for Parkson, but I'm looking at the question and answer window and I don't see any questions, friends. We have a fathering expert here, so if you have anything, please don't be shy. Just feel free to ask. Maybe even just share a struggle that you have or an instant that you have, interacting with your child when he or she was engaging in some kind of digital media or their mobile device. And just share with us. I think if the talk is anything to go by, we have learned that it is more common than rare for children at this age and Singaporean children to be engaged very much in digital media. So yeah, do we have any questions? Well, maybe if we have a bit, we did set aside 15 minutes for Q&A. So we'll just wait for your questions to stream in. Maybe I can start off, Parkson. So it seems like, just like you mentioned agency, right? To give the child some agency, some sense of responsibility to decide when they think it's time. Maybe could you simulate a conversation, what are some practical things that we could say to the child? Let's say the child is, maybe in primary school. What would you say to that child?
How old is the child again?
Primary school age.
Oh, primary school. Okay. All right. Now, this is just an example. All right. Just get the the concept and the principles here. Okay. It can vary from child to child, but the idea is this. For example, parents tend to have a kind of a timetable for the child after he gets home from school, right? All right, now that you're home, the first thing, put down your bag, go change, take a shower, take your lunch or something like that. And then, go start to do your homework, or maybe there's tuition. So there is a timetable that parents have for their kids, right? That's quite common. Now, one of these days, maybe you can ask the child, what if you have the opportunity to plan your day after you get home from school, what would that plan look like? Okay, so he's gonna of course be so happy and plan it. I'm gonna first spend the first 2 hours playing games, right, chatting with my friends on WhatsApp or whatever, and then I would maybe take a short nap. And okay, so whatever he comes up with, just discuss it with the child and ask why. Why did you start with this and not that, and why so long and things like that, just to find out his thinking and his needs. Okay, because when a parent plans the timetable for the child, we of course do it out of best intentions, but we might not know his needs. Just like an adult, when we spend 8 hours in the office, are we productive or every minute of that 8 hours? No. Some are morning people, and some are more night people. So we have kind of our peak times, our prime times that we are most efficient. All right. And if that's true for adults, I think that's true also for children. So I think this is a good exercise to just hear from them, let them have that freedom to express first, to explain themselves so that we get to know them. And then after that, try a way to work out a compromise, okay? Knowing their needs, knowing their concerns, and also bearing in mind and letting them know our concerns. If you spend the first 2 hours gaming, after you get home, my concern is that, all right, just share your concerns and then work things out together. So in this way, you're actually teaching your child many, many things, all right? He learns to communicate with you. He learns to tell you what's in him, what he's thinking, what he's feeling. And you are also teaching him problem-solving skills, which is very important in life.
Thanks, Parkson. Now we're getting a few questions in. Thank you, everyone. Okay, since you're on the topic of communicating with primary school going children, Charlotte here has an answer. Simon, I know you posted the answer first, so we will that question first. But let's work on Charlotte's question first. Now, Charlotte says that she and her husband keep telling their son to pick up after himself, but he continuously forgets. We get upset and reprimand him, but he is sorry, but each time he forgets. So, they've wanted to remove privileges as consequences. It seems like, it's the son is genuinely forgetful. What would be your advice, Parkson?
Well, there's always a reason. Apart from, the kind of obvious ones are like, some children may be having some conditions like ADHD or dyslexia, all right, which my son was diagnosed with when he was younger. So we did see this kind of thing. We had this kind of challenges, just helping him organize his cupboard, his wardrobe, his table, all right. It was a many-year project, not just a one-year project, okay. Now, but even for average children, some of them do struggle. And again, this very much boils down to some of these executive functions, these basic skills, all right, self-control and self-regulation and things like that, all right. So it takes time to help the child develop certain habits. Giving him instructions alone does not help, okay, because he knows what the outcome looks like, but the skills to do that might not be there. The routine and the habits might not be developed yet. So it takes time, all right? And it takes a lot of patience and guidance to get him to that point. And one of the things I talk about in the book about authoritative parenting is, a parent has two arms. With one, he sets the standard, and with the other, he says to the child, he holds the child and says to the child, what do you need from me or anyone else to help you, that will help you reach this goal? Okay, so very often we set the standard and we say, go, do it. But we forget to ask, what do you need so that you can do it? Yeah.
Thanks, Parkson. Now, Simon has a question. What would you say to a child that says playing games, being a social influencer or a YouTuber are also like a full-time job, that they want to do that as an occupation?
Yes, it is true. It is true. I mean, today, the kinds of jobs, and are no longer like in the past that you are either engineer or lawyer or doctor or accountant. Okay. During my time, those were basically the options given to me. But today, the options are countless, all right? And our children are very exposed and, and they are drawn to some of these things. Now, one of the ways to deal with this, all right, it's not so much to change their minds. Okay. I do not know how old this child is, but a child is constantly in the search of identity. Okay. And one of the things about identity is that it changes, and it can, over a lifetime, it can change a number of times. Okay. So don't worry too much about it, because whatever he chooses today, he might forget about it in a year or something like that. But, just again, use this as an opportunity to find out, what motivates him. All right. What motivates him about these kinds of, so-called jobs or professions or interests? What motivates him? What really attracts him towards those? So through that, you get a deeper understanding of who he is, which is much more important. Then you're able to guide him in his search for his identity, or in the future, his job or profession.
Because I guess many parents would, the temptation is to flat out say, no, why on earth are you thinking about doing this, right? That is not even a job at all. But yeah, I think many people of the younger generation, they are doing this as a full-time job, and maybe there's some conversations to be had concerning this.
Yeah.
Right.
Or there could be all right. So supposing, if I'm the father, I says, all right, so let's say in about a few years' time, that's where you're going to get. So it's not going to happen overnight. So in the meantime, what you're going to do, okay? So either you treat that as a hobby and you keep working on it, or you focus on something else, all right? Because in life, the reality in today is, having one skill, it's risky, right? There's something called the slash, what do you call that? Career or something like that. All right, your slash career. You have multiple careers happening at the same time, but at different degrees and things like that. So that's one way to help your child understand the reality of the world and life today, and how are you going to be ready for that.
Great. Now we have two very interesting questions. We'll answer Rainer's question first. Now, Rainer, you're asking, in these modern times, how do we balance between being a good husband and a good father?
Well, very simple. One affects the other. All right, one affects the other. If you're a good husband, to be a good father, actually, you need to begin by being a good husband. Okay, because like I said, as a father, what you really want to do is to be able to impact your child, okay, in all the positive ways, so that your child will be able to grow up in a home that has a safe environment, a very peaceful, safe, conducive environment where the child can thrive and develop fully. And the key to that safe environment, that good environment, is a good marriage. Okay, the marriage actually sets the tone, sets the atmosphere at home. Okay, and if the marriage is conflictual, right, and the parents are always yelling at each other, that creates a lot of anxiety and stress in the child, and it affects everything else. Grades are first to go, emotional stability is another, and many other things. The sense of security and identity, self-identity.
Now, wow, we have more questions coming in. That's great. But we are running out of time. Okay. Maybe, okay, since Reggie has a question, maybe we'll see if we can answer Reggie's question, and then if we have time, we'll answer Imran's. Now, Reggie has two daughters. One is a teenager who's still studying, and another who recently started working. They are a close-knit family, but they are often quite engrossed in their mobile devices and personal computers, even during meal times. So, is there a way to get out of this habit?
Yep. Well, in my book, I do talk about it, about, how to have a device-free mealtime, for example. Okay. And well, one is to set a rule, okay, that no devices at the family meal table. But you see, for children for example, your daughter's age, it's very important to explain the rule, okay, and not just set the rule. The rule, if it's just created like that, for teenagers, they will feel that it's arbitrary, it's random, there's no basis, there's no logic behind it. So you need to be able to support it. You need to be able to justify it and explain the rationale, the thinking that has gone behind it. Better still, if it is based on a value or a principle. So in this case, the value is, of course, family. Okay. And well, one of your daughters is already working. So I'm sure the amount of time that you have be able to spend together is now restricted. So that makes the family meal, I don't know how frequent it is, maybe 3 times a week or maybe just once a week, even more precious. So the idea here, the concept, the value here is that family is important. We only have once a week that we get together, catch up with each other, and really, stay connected with each other. So we want to be able to treat this as sacred time, and we want to protect it at all costs. Okay. And some sacrifices have to be made, and all of us will make it. How? Well, we will put our phones far away from us and not bring it to the table. So you can try that. Okay. And just emphasize that it is the value of the family, and this is a sacred moment. We want to protect it. So if there is a logic behind it, if it's reasonable, then I'm sure there will be greater buy-in. Now, for teenagers, this is the thing, all right? If it sounds reasonable, if it sounds logical, there will be buy-in, but not immediately compliance. Compliance may take some time. But if you have buy-in, it's half the battle won. So take heart.
Okay, I'm going to stretch it a bit, and we're going to squeeze in Imran's question. Imran wants to know if you have any tips of raising children who are more aware, more self-aware, right, as individuals, and hopefully that they will be able to find their purpose or their place in community and society. That's a meaningful question. Thank you for asking that, Imran.
Okay, I'm trying to understand. Okay, tips on raising children who are more self-aware, all right, which is good. Means they're not confused, they're not lost, they're not really, fumbling around, asking, who am I? Okay, like I said, our identities will change over time. Throughout our lifetimes, you'll probably change a few times. So at this moment, they might have something in mind, which is good. All right, and that becomes their motivation, that becomes their goal, which pushes them towards in a certain direction. It propels them forward. So it's a good thing. Okay, I would like to suggest a very good book for all parents to read. I've just read it, earlier this year. It's called The 100-Year Life. Okay, it's very eye-opening. It really will prepare all of us to raise our children in this new time where most of them would have a high chance of living up to 100 years old. Okay, and the way they live their lives would be very different from us and very, very different from our parents. So are we prepared are we ready to raise them and prepare them for that kind of life? That's the question that this book will help you answer.
Great. Well, on that note, friends, we trust that this talk has been beneficial for you. And if you have any more questions, Parkson, I'm sure will be happy to address them on another occasion. You can visit his blog for more parenting resources. We'll place his blog on our chat group, and his contact details are there too. And you should be able to, there it is, imparkson.wordpress.com. Now, friends, we also hope that as much as this talk has been beneficial and the question and answer section has been very fruitful, thank you for your questions. We also hope that we've piqued your interest in Parkson's very unique book about modern day fathering. But please don't leave just yet. It's time now for the quiz. Okay, I must preface, do not post your answer on the chat group. Okay, it is not fastest fingers first. You are supposed to SMS me. So I just want to put it out there first before I ask the question. Okay, here we go. Now, can you please complete this sentence for me? The title of Parkson's book is The Modern Day Dad Tips for... Now, it's obviously a giveaway. So if you get this wrong, I have nothing to say. So check the spelling and everything. And please SMS your answer to this number that's on the screen. And if you answer this question, Charlotte, please don't. Okay, I'm gonna delete it. Okay, don't post anything. Don't post anything on the chat group or the question answer page. Okay, SMS me your answer. Now, if you answer this question correctly, then 2 of you stand to win a free copy of The Modern Day Dad. The winners will be picked randomly. I have an Excel sheet, and then I use some algorithm, and it just jumbles everything up. And I will just pick 2 winners and will contact you via the mobile phone number that you sent me at. All right. Well, friends, on that note, we have come to the end of this talk. It was very enjoyable, and we really look forward to the day that we can hold physical meetings again. But until then, Parkson, thank you so much. We really do hope that you'll continue inspiring many, many fathers, not just through workshops, but through, and as your job as at the Center for Fathering, but also through this book. And until then, on behalf of Graceworks and Parkson, thank you, friends, for joining us virtually. Here's to being better fathers and mothers.
Hey, bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.